Hello, everybody. It is Joe, Neely, and this is the Golden Hour. I have a whole lot to tell you today. We'll see how much I can remember and how much I can squeeze in. I took some notes for the show, but of course, in order to look at them, I'd have to turn the video off, so that's not going to happen. I'll do my best to remember. Besides, that's bugging me for some reason, and it's not coming off. Oh well. Anyway, besides, you have to write it down. You won't remember. One of my favorite sayings. I put it in a song once. I don't know if it's true that writing things down is cheating. I think it's good. I've experimented with a lot of mental exercises today. I've experimented with memorizing some valuable wisdom from Eckhart Tolle in his very, very popular book, The Power of Now. I've memorized a few lines from chapter 6, which is, oh no, I'm blanking. Chapter 6, Dissolving the Pain Body. In this chapter, Eckhart talks a lot about dealing with both the old pain that we have from memories and habits of behavior, as well as the new pain that we create each day. I've learned a lot today. I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain it all, but I'll do my best. Anyway, I was listening to Brandon Beecham. He was sharing some thoughts on Eckhart Tolle to help one of his listeners. If you're not familiar with Brandon, he is the host of the Positive Heads podcast, and I've talked about him a few other times on this show. But as far as spiritual shows similar to mine go, his is my favorite to listen to, and I think when you look up spirituality on iTunes, you'll find that I think he's up in the very top 5, if not the top 3, of spirituality podcasts. He's becoming very well known, and for good reason. Like I said, he shares his own insights as well as quotes from famous teachers. And like I said, I was memorizing some Eckhart Tolle. If you're anything like me, your mind jumps around a lot. Maybe we come from the ADHD generation, I don't know. But it's hard to focus sometimes. I was listening to Eckhart talk about the pain body and just got scattered and started thinking about other stuff, and he's still droning away in my headphones, and I'm not listening to him at all. That happens to me virtually every time I listen to something. My brain will start churning away on something I've heard, chewing away, having thoughts, having insights, thinking about stuff on what I'm listening to, and then I'm not listening to what I'm listening to. So I tried a few different techniques, and I'm going to give these to you. One technique is every time you feel your mind wander, just rewind back to either a beginning point or some point where you know you're confident with all the material up to that point. And then just keep studying back to that and flaking out and studying back to that and flaking out and going back. That's one way to do it. I found that was a whole lot of wasted time because by the time I realized my mind had been wandering for a while. So then I had to, go all the way back and everything. But that's one technique. Of course, another technique, quite simply, is to let stuff go in the background and don't care if your mind wanders, because then, well, you get the benefit of having it come into your subconscious. You get some of it consciously, some of it you skip, but it's all coming into your head, at least on some level. It's a good way to create familiarity with things. I certainly wouldn't study something with the rewinding it every time my brain skips technique. I certainly wouldn't do that unless I was pretty familiar with the material and had already listened to it just in the background, letting my mind go, just putting it in as background music in my daily life. Because, let's face it, we only have so much willpower, we only have so much time. Whatever energy we put into studying materials or even memorizing materials, we've got to make sure that energy is well spent. So they need to be the very best materials out there for us right now. That'll change what we think is right for us over time, but we need to make sure we're digging into the best of stuff. For me, I was really fascinated by the pain body, and I was glad to hear Brandon talk about it because that's a part of the Power of Now I've never quite understood. Though I've played it as an audiobook, it's one of the few audiobooks I own, and I've played it many, many times in the background of other things. Whenever it got to that point, I always felt a little stuck. And some of Brandon's comments really helped me. I will link to his show so you can check out what I'm talking about when I publish this video online. I'll make sure to do that. He was kind enough to give me a shout out when I left him a review on iTunes. So I'd like to throw some more love back his way and continue the cycle of love, I think he calls it, or the circle of love or something like that. Anyway, an inspiring dude, and like I said, I've been working with my mind, whether I'm just listening to Eckhart in the background, whether I'm hitting rewind or restart every time I feel my mind wander while I'm listening to Eckhart, or even more than that, memorizing it. I found that, like I was saying earlier, there's a waste of time if you wait for yourself to wait for your mind to wander before you rewind. It's kind of silly. So instead, I went ahead and just stopped the audio after each sentence, made sure I knew what it meant, and then listened to another sentence, made sure I knew what it meant. And that led me right into memorization, where, like I said, chapter 6, dissolving the pain body, where I just started memorizing it sentence by sentence. I got about 3 of them solid and a few more of them, to where I'm aware of them, and when I go back to it I can memorize more. But like I said, chapter 6, dissolving the pain body, Eckhart says, not Brandon, Eckhart says that the greater part of human pain is unnecessary. Basically meaning that we have a lot of pain that we feel that we don't need to feel. Some of it we do, but of the vast majority of it we don't. So, the greatest part of human pain is unnecessary. And for those of you pedants out there, if you want to be pedantic about it, you can check me against the book of the recording and make sure I got it right. But that's the first sentence. The second sentence says, it is self-creating as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. So it's self-creating. We're creating pain for ourselves. It's not being imposed on us. We don't have to feel it. If we don't choose to create it, we don't have to create it. But there's self-created pain going on. And it has to do with the unobserved mind running the show. The unobserved mind, the part of our mind that we're not aware of. And that is, I think, the biggest culprit. In law of attraction, people say that we're manifesting things, and then I say, well, where are they? And they would say that the unconscious parts of us are manifesting the undesirable things, or the repetitive things, or holding back the good things that we want to create. So it's really a trick of being aware of this unobserved mind and not letting it make poor decisions on our behalf. So, I think the third sentence that Eckhart wrote about the pain body had to do, got a bug on my back, had to do with, still there, okay. Had to do with saying, and I don't know if I'm getting this one 100% correct, but he basically said, the pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance. I think I got that right. And non-acceptance, non-allowance, not accepting things the way they are, accepting your true nature. not just accepting reality and, oh, I'm stuck with things and I need to accept it. It's not that kind of acceptance. It's allowing. It's allowing your true self to come through. And we stifle ourselves and we hold ourselves back, mainly to please others and to feel safe from others. And that creates pain. I'm going to skip now from those techniques and my own thoughts on Eckhart there to something else. When I talked about allowance, it reminded me of one of the notes that I made this morning for the show, which of course I can't read like I said, but I'm going to do out of my memory. I had a wonderful experience with allowance this morning. I was waking up, sleeping in as I love to do, and having a wonderful time of turning my body on but not my mind. Oh, that's a squirrel. And waking up slowly, allowing myself to go back to dreams if I needed to. I got cut off by the alarm there. I was saying that I wake up in the morning, like I did this morning, and allow myself to go back into dreams if I need to, or be okay with waking up a little, but not a lot. Enjoying all the different phases of waking up, and most importantly, not waking up my mind before I wake up my body. It may have been an hour or more. I wasn't really keeping track of time because my mind was not fully booted up, as they say in computer slang. You know, they say that because the computer pulls itself up by its own bootstraps. The computer turns itself on and turns on its functions. Anyway, that's the idea of booting. And your mind boots up. And before that, you can allow your body to wake up. I was enjoying the electric feeling of all of the healing signals in my nervous system going along, which is wonderful because it had continued from the night before. The night before, last night, I was really tired, so I just kind of lay down once I got everything set in my camp and just bang, went into this state of my mind turning off, no more to think about for the day, and just letting my body heal itself and work on itself. And it was amazing to feel that while I was still awake. I'm sure a lot of that happens while I'm asleep. And I really hope that you can feel this. You don't have to try. The trick is when you turn your mind off, it just automatically happens. Your body just starts taking care of itself. I honestly wonder if your mind, if my mind, if the mind is part of the fight and flight mechanism. That when we don't feel any fear, then we can just turn the mind off and just be in our bodies. I'm trying to do it now, but of course it's tricky on the video. But I feel like I had partial success. But yes, at some points I can just feel inner blockages, inner energy blockages just coming loose. For me, I have some in my abdomen, maybe near what the Japanese call the hara, which is a place behind the navel, kind of in between the second and third chakras if you use the chakra system, below the solar plexus and above the genitals. So anyway, fascinating stuff all around. And I'm sure I'm going to tell you more about this in days to come, so let me skip over to some other topics. Another one, I said that it's fun to use your phone, to play games, or do whatever you like to do for entertainment as you do your yoga. Or to flip it around, you could say during your game time or entertainment time or Facebook time or whatever it is, sit in a yoga pose. The easiest ones for this, of course, are sitting poses, such as the various lotus and half lotus poses. I'm a big fan of half lotus. I haven't gotten to lotus yet. Never say never. As well as you can have one knee with the heel into the crotch and the other one out, which is a good, forward fold kind of pose. Make sure to alternate both sides as always to balance them out. You could put your feet with the soles of your feet together in some kind of a butterfly or diamond pose. Butterfly is when the feet are close to you, and diamond when it's further out. But yeah, enjoy some of those. Also, I have a spicier tidbit for those of you who are aspiring tantrists out there. If you want to not just yoga up your game time or game up your yoga time, you can also sexy up your yoga time by looking at exciting pictures. I have to be a little careful with my speech because I'm in the park, but you know what I mean. Look at pictures that excite you in the second chakra while you are doing your yoga and see how that makes you feel. You can use whatever you like. I recommend ones that images where what can I say? I recommend images where the person in them or people are really happily enjoying what they're doing. For me, seeing the facial expression of someone who's enraptured in intercourse with another person will really give me a good feeling. It's not about arousal, and it's not really about getting that chakra burning, though maybe we can do some of that in later episodes. It's really just about that happy feeling of an inspiration of, isn't it nice when people connect that they can be this happy together? And I think that's a wonderful way to just inch a bit of that energy into your daily yoga practice, or meditation, I guess, but I think it works better with yoga when you're in your body. And like I said, wake up, right on your sleeping mat or in your bed, do as much yoga and stretching as you can, not really consciously, more in an improvisational way. Just let your body do whatever it needs to do and explore that, and get up very slowly, and then turn your mind on only when you have to. And that will get you in the practice of using your mind as a tool to make decisions when they're necessary, and then turning it off the rest of the time. I'm one of those people who's left it on all the time and had some interesting results. So now I'm experimenting with only using it to make decisions. Make them clearly and only when they need to be made. Don't make decisions for this afternoon, this morning. Just make the one decision you need to make, which is, what am I going to do next? Right? Keep it simple. Use your mind only when you need to. And then let your body throughout the day stay activated. Let your nervous system send signals of caring. For example, the opposite of fight and flight is feed and breed. And that's where we love each other and eat and have a nice time. And we need to get into that mode. Like I said, I think the mind is connected to this. I think the mind almost takes over. Like, it's part of fight and flight to be hyper aware of everything, to make every little decision, be a big deal, like it really matters. In a fight, yes, every little thing you do really matters. That's why martial artists train in details. But in normal times, you don't want to think that much. One way, of course, is to have good habits. If you have good habits of things that you do every day, and they're good, and you don't have to think about them because they're habitual, and you're good at doing them, and you know all the minutiae of the little tasks that you do, you know when to do them and in what orders, you don't have to think at all. That's really great. But yeah, I think the mind takes over because it's needed for fighting and flighting. And we have to be really careful about letting the mind go when we don't need it, and allowing the good feeling parts of our body, feeding and breeding, to have their share, have their time. So, I'm going to have to go because it is well past the golden hour. As you know, I celebrate the hour before sunset by doing yoga, exercises, meditation, and talking to you. And it is well past the time. Usually that doesn't happen. I guess I had a good day that I didn't feel like I needed to stop right at the time. So yeah, it's probably 10-15 minutes after sunset, and I need to get out of this park to respect the community here and let them know that I'm not going to hang around after dark. So I will like to talk with you more. You can leave comments underneath the video. You can also join the community at joneely.net/goldenhour and leave comments there on the various blog posts, or maybe even on the episode list. I don't know if that's an option. I'm going to look into it. So, stay in touch with me. I'll be back tomorrow for more of this. I love you all very much, and have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.